What's going on, guys? Adam Snyder here with the Homemade Entrepreneur. Today I want to go over 5 mistakes that are killing your resale business. Now, very recently I started doing a lot more with eBay and Amazon as far as talking to students and people that are wanting to make money online, and specifically about reselling and selling stuff on either Amazon FBA or through eBay. And because of that, I'm getting a lot of questions as to what are some mistakes I've made in the past, what did I do to combat those mistakes, to get past those, to get over those hurdles, and to be successful as a reseller. So I want to answer those, talk to you about those 5 mistakes that are absolutely killing your resale business. Now, before I get into that, I just first want to say, if you have not enrolled in Thrift Store Profits, I highly recommend you go and do that now. Thrift Store Profits is one of my courses, shows you how to go into any thrift store, buy a bunch of different stuff. I have over 67 profitable products you need to know, you need to learn, and you need to experience firsthand, because they'll start to make you some money. So if you haven't enrolled in Thrift Store Profits, I'll put a link down below with a discount code, so make sure you go and check it out. So let's jump into the video and let's talk about what are the 5 mistakes that are killing your resale business. Mistake number 1 is focusing all your time and effort on just one platform. Here's the reason why this is a mistake that I see a lot of people making. Now, this does not apply to somebody that is, a $10 million seller over on Amazon. Okay, obviously somebody like that, they are probably diversified in multiple markets on Amazon. But for a beginner, for a newer seller, for somebody that is selling under $1 million a year on Amazon FBA or on eBay, one of the things you need to understand is when you are limited to just one platform, if that one platform ever changes their rules, then you could be, kind of in the dark. You could be in the mud. Your business could go under. And here's the reason why. I had a client, several years ago that was selling shoes, Nike shoes, and just absolutely killing it. The problem was, as soon as Nike decided we don't want anybody selling our shoes, his account got shut down. So he had hundreds of thousands of dollars in shoes sitting over at Amazon that he couldn't sell anymore. Okay, so his business went under. That's happened to 2 different clients, the exact same story. One was selling over a couple $100,000 in shoes. The other one had, I think, like $50,000 to $80,000 in inventory sitting at Amazon. And again, it was all shoes. So just understand, when a platform changes their strategy, changes their rules, you gotta abide by them. And if you don't, you're gone. The other reason why focusing on just one platform is a mistake is because it limits what you can actually sell. For example, if you live in a small town and you are doing retail arbitrage, you're doing thrifting to sell on both Amazon and eBay, the problem is maybe you don't have enough new retail stores that you can go and buy stuff to flip over on Amazon. So because of that, I'd recommend you go into thrift stores, do yard sales, maybe a little bit of Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and find used inventory to then flip over on eBay or even on Amazon FBA and make your money that way. The same advice goes for somebody that's selling on Mercari or even Poshmark. You have a lot of options, so don't limit your option to just one platform. Have multiple platforms out there that you can sell on, and I guarantee the success rate is going to be much higher. Mistake number 2, and one that I personally have suffered many times, is buying inventory and not listing it. It doesn't matter if you are selling on eBay, on Amazon, Mercari, Poshmark, anywhere else. It doesn't matter. You buy inventory, you spend your hard-earned money, you might as well list it, because unlisted inventory is not making you any money. One of the things I did probably maybe 8 months ago, 7-8 months ago, was I bought a few pallets of used goods, and my plan was to sell those on eBay and Amazon FBA, depending on what I could sell and what was in decent condition to sell on Amazon FBA. What ended up happening is I took those 3, it's like, I think it was 2 double stack pallets and 1 single pallet. I took those 3 different pallets, pushed them to the back of the warehouse, and they sat. So I didn't look at them. I think I covered it with different stuff, and eventually after a couple months ended up going there and listing the stuff, ended up making some money. But the problem was I paid for that stuff and I didn't list it. So I spent the money, but I wasn't making any money. So my money was tied up for months, and I just didn't feel like doing anything about it. So that's a huge mistake. A second thing that I did was, and I don't do this anymore, but a little over a year ago, I was buying a bunch of Gaylords. If you don't know what a Gaylord is, it's a big pallet of books. So I was buying all these Gaylords for about $100 a piece, and they'd come with, I think anywhere from like, I think 1,500 to 2,500 books, something like that. And the problem was, that's a lot of books to go through and to individually scan. So at that time I didn't have an assistant, so because of that, I took those Gaylords, pushed them to the back of the warehouse, and I didn't deal with those for a very long time. So that's just, my personal story is, do not buy stuff to sell, but instead of selling it, you don't list it, so it can never sell. So that is the second mistake a lot of resellers are making, is they buy stuff and they don't list it right away, which I highly recommend you do. The third mistake I see a lot of resellers making, and one that I've been getting a lot of questions lately, which is part of the reason why I've really been pushing thrift store profits over the last few weeks, is because mistake number 3 that is killing your resale business is you are buying low profit items, which turns out that you are wasting your money and you're not able to build up that capital. So mistake number 3 is not building up your capital fast enough and soon enough to really scale your business. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people making when it comes to buying these items is that they're buying stuff that's making them 15, 20, 25% ROI, which isn't bad to stick at 25%. Okay, the problem is when they buy something and they're making 25% ROI, but then they have to factor in their fees, maybe they have shipping, maybe they have supplies, maybe an hourly employee, something like that. It brings the numbers down. So don't do that. What you need to do is try to build up as much capital so that you can have more options. This is one of the reasons why I highly recommend you start in thrifting, you start with yard sales, you start selling stuff from around the house, because the profit margins in those 3 areas are huge. Mistake number 4 that is killing your resale business is not selling what you know. Okay? Now here, let me give you an example, and I know this is going to be a little bit odd, but let me give you an example. And for a while, I was selling pretty much anything I could find at a thrift store. And again, this is one of the reasons why I put together Thrift Store Profits. And if you look inside there and you go to the clothing section, I talk about multiple brands of clothing. And I'm very specific when I tell you I hardly ever dabble in women's clothing. It's because I don't know it. So one of the things that I did, one of the mistakes that I made, and I made this several times, is I would go and look in the women's clothing section in thrift stores, even at yard sales, and I would try to buy specific women's clothing that I thought I'd be able to flip, turn around, resell, and make some money. The problem was I had no clue what I was doing. But I didn't stop there. I even did it over at Marshall's, even did it over at Ross, went to Burlington, went to all these different places to buy women's clothing. And I looked for big name brands, looked for items that were marked very low, but they had a sticker price that said it was a $200 item that they're selling for $39.99, and I'd buy this stuff, but I didn't know what I was doing. So mistake number 4 that's killing your resale business is buying stuff you don't know. Okay, just like I did. I even did that, and I talked about this probably 2 years ago, where I was buying a bunch of women's bras. I was deep into women's bras. Now, if that makes sense. And now, one of the things I want to address when it comes to women's bras is I don't wear a bra. I don't know what sizes are I thought I did. I didn't know what sizes were the best. I didn't know which size cup sizes were the most common. I would just buy what I thought I knew, and turns out I was able to make a bunch of money, but I had a lot of inventory just sitting there. And so what ended up happening one time, Amazon let me ship all my items back free of charge, and so I had probably 200 or 300 different bras that I didn't know what to do with. So I didn't sell them on eBay. I ended up putting up like a yard sale, just an impromptu yard sale with a bunch of women's clothing, and did really well. The problem was I think I still lost money, because women's bras are not cheap. Some are fairly expensive, and so I'd buy all this stuff at Marshall's, Ross, TJ Maxx, and I try to sell it, and guess what? I didn't know what I was doing, so I didn't think I made much money at all when it came down to it. And mistake number 5 that is absolutely killing your resale business is not knowing your numbers. And this doesn't just apply to resellers, this applies to any business out there. If you do not know your numbers, I guarantee you your business is going to fail. Here's the reason why. I just got off the phone probably a couple hours ago with a client, and his issue was he was making this amount of money, but he had no money at the end of the month. What's he doing wrong? He didn't know his numbers. He didn't know how much money he needed per month, how much profit he needed per month to cover all of his expenses. That means all of his business expenses, even paying himself as an employee. What did he need? He had no clue. And so because of that number one thing, his business was going to fail. And his business has only been in business for a little over 2 months. Okay? So what do you think when it comes to knowing your numbers? It's something that you think, I'll make enough. I'll be fine. I'll deal with that later. My tax guy will deal with that when I take him all my tax information. No. By that time it's too late. Every single month you need to know exactly how much money you need to cover your expenses. If you don't, I guarantee you your business is going to fail. Let me give you another example about knowing your numbers. And this pertains to Amazon FBA in more particular reasons, but also it kind of pertains to eBay as well. But so I had a student that went through my Amazon FBA course probably 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. And he was planning on buying some stuff through a manufacturer over in China, and he was going to get it here. He was going to have his employee box it up, put some labels on, do whatever to it, and he was only going to make about $1.50 per item. His item cost about 30 cents per product. Now, he was going to make about $1.50. Here's the reason that is an issue, is because the product that he had, and I'm going to tell you what the product is for obvious reasons, it's doing good now, but the product that he has, or had at the time, he was trying to pay an employee to do all this work, and he's only making $1.50 profit on this item. The return rate on this, about every 1 in 30, 40 items would get returned, and it would be, you couldn't actually use it, couldn't resell it. And so here's the problem. His profit margins were so low, were so narrow, he wasn't able to really build his business. All he was doing was putting a product out there, and he pretty much break even because all his expenses were too high and the profit margin on his item was too low. So when it all came down to it, there was nothing to be made. So if you don't know your numbers, that is a big issue. You could be overpaying for something. You could be paying for something that you think it's going to be extremely profitable. It's going to make you a lot of money, but in the end, you actually are in the negative because of that one thing. What you need to understand when it comes to mistakes you're making with your resale business is every mistake that you make is actually a learning experience. I've made a bunch of mistakes, but I've also learned a lot from the mistakes that I've made and other sellers have made as well. So think about that. Think about the mistakes that I just told you. Think about the mistakes that you made in the past 6 months. What have you done to fix those mistakes, to rectify the situation, to make sure, to ensure that your business is not going to fail anytime soon? What have you done? Now I understand, the majority of people that are watching this video, the majority of you guys are running a resale business, and it's a hobby, it's a side income, it's something that you do not rely on 100%, and that's absolutely fine. But if you are using reselling as a tool to create an income, to build wealth, to create a business that you can run, maybe even pass down to your children someday, if that's what you're doing, I guarantee you need to understand what the mistakes are that you're currently making. You may not feel that it's a mistake. However, you need to look at every single decision you make and try to analyze it and dissect that, that decision and figure out, did you choose the right one? Did you choose the right path? Are there mistakes you're making that you should fix? If there are you willing to do that? Now, if there is a situation in your resale business that you just want to talk about, all you gotta do, comment down below and let me know, what is it that is happening right now that you are not sure of, you're unsure of? You think you maybe have chosen the wrong path, maybe you made the wrong decision, maybe you made the right decision, but you want somebody with a little bit of outside perspective to look at your business and try to tell you, this is what I would have done, or this is what I think you should have done. So if you need that, I'm here to help you out any way that I can. All you gotta do, comment down in the comment section below and I'll help you out there. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. One thing I ask, okay? One thing I ask from you is if you have any specific questions regarding reselling, whether it's on eBay, Amazon, or another platform, let me know. All you gotta do, ask your question or give me your video idea down in the description box below, down in the comment section below, and I will actually try to get to it as soon as possible. So again, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and also click that notification bell so you don't miss any more of my videos, and I'll see you guys on the next one.